Winnie the Pooh has a turn of phrase, I think, that's unique and singular to him. And he's at the moment where Pooh and Piglet are separated, and Piglet says, "I looked around and you weren't leaning against the tree that you normally are leaning against." And Pooh replies, "Yes, that's exactly where I wasn't." As if he's trying to figure out, he can't remember where he was, but he remembers where he wasn't. And if by a process of elimination, eventually he'll get there, he'll find the answer. Very sweet. I love narration because it's pure storytelling. And as a narrator, actually, what you have to do is try to serve the story. Very different from acting or interpreting a character where you're trying to step into the shoes of somebody else, be they a fictional character or a real person, and represent their experience. As a storyteller, you're sort of more detached and trying to allow the story to live in the ears of the listener. And it's different, and it's because I'm there in service to the story as opposed to inside the story. I think that's what the life of an actor is. And these Winnie the Pooh stories are incredibly sweet and warm-hearted, and much has been written about the philosophy at the centre of Winnie the Pooh and the values of kindness and friendship and appreciating the small things. I try to. It's changed as I've got older. That's perhaps a completely natural progression. When I was younger, I was a real night owl. I found the evening a great time for thinking, because there were fewer distractions. But sometimes you can get into a thinking place where the mind actually wakes itself up. But as I've got older, I've become more of an early bird, which I never thought I would say. So here we are. Ask me again in 20 years. Am I a good sleeper? I think I probably am. Once the lights are out, I'm out. And I think that's because I sort of try to keep myself occupied during the day. So when eventually it comes time to turn in and switch off, I'm always relieved that that's the time it is. I think we've all probably had periods in our lives where we don't sleep as well for whatever reason. Maybe there's a lot going on, or we're distracted or thinking about something, and so that the mind can sometimes turn itself over and you wish it wouldn't. But on balance, I think I'm a pretty good sleeper, actually. It's a work in progress. When I was a child, and I don't think this is unique or singular to me, there was a audio recording of Winnie the Pooh by Alan Bennett. And as a child, I had no idea who Alan Bennett was. We used to listen to the cassette tape on long journeys in the car, and it was something we all loved it. And he seemed to completely understand the kindness and the warmth at the heart of these stories, and the wit. And there's so much wit in them, and that was translated very easily to me as a child. They're sort of funny and warm, and so I have a very, very fond memory of listening to those stories in long car journeys. It was the only thing we could all agree on, wanted to listen to. So yeah, and he did great voices too. The voices for the characters were very funny. They weren't particularly a stretch from his own voice, but somehow he seemed to capture the essence of each character. And then that inspired me to read the book, and it was always by the bedside as a child in our home. yeah, Winnie the Pooh's been around. It's definitely a big part of my life and my childhood. I'm very grateful for that. There's a lot of wisdom in Winnie the Pooh. It's nice to revisit. I do have a soft spot for Pooh himself. I think he's so honest and sweet and kind, and there's something very even about his temperament. And he never panics, even when he can feel because he's forgetful. But he's always like, if I just wait here, something will happen and I'll be able to work out what's going on. Whether he's been separated from Piglet or he's expecting to see Christopher Robin and Christopher Robin hasn't turned up, and the dynamic between Pooh and Piglet is so funny and sweet. I love Eeyore too. All moods and characters are contained in Winnie the Pooh. We all know Tiggers and we all know rabbits and we all know Eeyores. But Eeyore's got a real wisdom behind his kind of stillness and his sort of lower temperament. There's a wisdom in there somewhere that we can learn from. There is one line which I really loved, and it's incredibly touching towards the end of the story. And Pooh is waiting with Eeyore for Christopher Robin, and he's worried. Pooh's worried that Christopher Robin's not going to turn up, and is feeling a bit sad, but he's being quiet about it. But he's sitting with Eeyore, and they spend the rest of the day together until the sun set behind the trees. And Eeyore gets up to go and says, sorry he didn't make it. Then Eeyore turned and looked back at Pooh. Don't worry, he said. That boy is a better friend to you than my tail is to me. You can't get rid of him so easily. Thank you, Eeyore, said Pooh, you're quite right. And it's just so that, that Eeyore is able to, he's not often the most forthcoming, but he's able to be incredibly reassuring to Winnie the Pooh in that moment. It's really lovely and sweet. The Winnie the Pooh sleep stories are available right now on Calm.